Hello.
Having
Hi, everyone. Good evening, good afternoon, good morning, wherever you're based. And welcome to the second class of this collaborative course between the Center for Constitutional Rights and Into the Treehouse called Rooted, a Living Toolkit in the Face of State Repression. My name is Maya Fino. I'm the Political Education and Research Manager at the Center for Constitutional Rights, aka CCR. And today's class is We Take Care of Each Other with our instructors Phoenix and Afeni Evans. CCR recognizes the duty of creating spaces like Rooted. It is important, especially in this moment of mass disinformation, that we commit to political education, study, and curiosity, seeing ourselves as a part of this world and as agents of social change within our own communities. So we hope that you take what you learned from here today and go forth onward towards your people. And with that, I'll now invite Paloma Ray to offer a few words about Into the Treehouse. Thanks all.
Imagine a place where you don't have to fully arrive formed, just willing, where curiosity is the rule, not the exception, where adults get to remember and kids and inner children alike get to teach. Into the Treehouse is a shared playground for curiosity and imagination, where learning moves between us across ages and across experiences. It's a space to experiment, to tell stories, to move our body, and to have joy, not as an escape, but as tools to connect, to expand capacity, and to liberate ourselves. So we invite you, our new playmates, to be curious, to be brave, to try stuff, to mess up, to laugh, to just show up. So welcome to Into the Treehouse. We are so excited to be here with you. And don't forget, play has always been our first teacher. Now I'm going to pass this to my co founder, Nicole.
Hi, everyone. We're so glad that we can be here together. So, CCR and ITT named this series Rooted, a Living Toolkit in the Face of State Repression, because we wanted to offer the collective resources and tools that are both helpful and embodied. So, the name Rooted borrows inspiration from the popularization of the Angela Davis quote that says, "Radical simply means grasping things at the root," which is what each of these courses attempts to do. So we hope that each class is a reminder to root into your personal, our collective, and our ancestral power as a well of strength and support. So before I invite our instructors, Phoenix and Afeni, to begin, I want to quickly address some housekeeping things. This is a public class. It will be recorded for viewing later on, but the chat won't be saved. Closed captions are available at the bottom of your screen near the chat box to the right. The chat is open, and we encourage you to introduce yourself, let us know where you're tuning in from, and we really just encourage you to be active. Yeah, it is open. Bada bing. There we go. We encourage you to be active because that's where we'll be dialoguing from. So make sure that when you're chatting, your chat setting says send to everyone, not just hosts and panelists, so that everyone can see it. We're going to talk more carefully, more closely about the community guidelines a little bit later in this course, but just wanted to share a reminder that curiosity is welcome, hatred is not. We have a zero tolerance policy for hatred, cruelty, and intolerance of any kind. But without further ado, I'll let Phoenix and Afeni take it from here.
Hi everyone. My name is Phoenix. I use they, them pronouns. And I'm just really grateful to have you all here. I think, especially in a moment of increasing overwhelm, to take the time and the space to show up, is really meaningful. So I'm co-leading this course with my comrade Afeni Evans. And we are, you know, I love that people are already saying hi in the chat. I did see someone ask if there's a face, so hopefully you can see one face. I lost it in the chat. And so, I wanted to just share a little bit about how this hour will be structured. So we're going to start with a little brief intro for both of us, go into some community agreements, talk a little bit about history and why the intentionality behind some of this overwhelm and living in a state of repression. We're going to talk through burnout and some tools, have some time for us to be together in community to talk through the Padlet. If you didn't receive it yet, we'll be sharing that later, as well as resource mapping, a beautiful somatic practice, and then closing. Um, so yeah, I'll pass it over to Afeni.
Hi, y'all. Sorry. You know, as you get older, your bladder gets smaller and smaller and it becomes an emergency real fast. I'm so sorry about that. So I just want to go ahead and really quickly set some community agreements. Um, Also, hi, my name's Afeni. My pronouns are she, her. I'm a community organizer for Fair Budget Coalition. I'm also a national trainer with the Mass Liberation Network. And I'm really, really excited to be here with y'all. But okay, so community agreements. Um, Number one agreement is step up, step back. We will be talking a lot, but we do encourage folks to step up in the chat and like say and sound off on your thoughts if you have anything that is coming up for you and during the course of us facilitating, like we would love to hear it, see it, but we would love to hear from you. This is a no cop zone. We don't like police. We're abolitionists. So if you are like an FBI agent or CIA or something, like you have to go. Log off. Um, get your butter, so take care of your needs. Y'all saw me as soon as the emergency hit, I ran. I ran. So please, whatever you need to do, get water, stand up, stretch. Just please take care of yourself. The whole purpose of this session is about like really tapping in with self. So we want to make sure that we're bringing that into the space. We center the experiences of directly impacted and marginalized people. Directly impacted by meaning systems impacted. Um, it's okay, friend. It happens all the time. Um, and also, this is a brave space, not a safe space. So you are still safe here, but we encourage you to say the courageous thing, the thing that might be a little uncomfortable. Discomfort and lack of safety is not the same thing. So you might be uncomfortable over the course of this conversation, but you are still safe in this room with us. And if there's anything that you need to do to regulate yourself, um, please let us know. Discomfort is okay, harm is not. So if we say something and it sounds like, "Oh, girl, what are you talking about?" Please let us know that as well. And if there's any extra community agreements that you need to be in space with us, please drop them in the chat. If anything is missing, uh, yeah, just let us know. And I'll pass it back to my friend Phoenix. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Um, so I just want to name that I am disabled and neurodivergent, and so I may go off topic, and I may get distracted. And that's just part of who I am, and I embrace that part of myself. I also forgot to actually introduce myself, so I'm an advocate, educator, and storyteller. I also am a rageful human and proudly queer, non-binary, neurodivergent, and disabled, and a survivor of multiple forms of harm and violence. So what I really wanted to kind of start our conversation on is what does living in a state of repression mean, right? Like this is what the series is called, but what is that actually looking like? And so, we can really look at it in three ways, on the individual level, the community level, and the national level. And kind of in writing this, one of the things that I feel like I experience a lot is the cognitive dissonance between people who are living in the same space as we are, but are having a completely different experience than we do. And I think the privilege of saying like this isn't happening to me, they're going on their brunches, enjoying their coffees. While a lot of us are like literally struggling with our mental health, we're struggling with how to survive. I personally am on like Medicaid and SNAP and like, every single, can I swear? I'm gonna swear. Can I swear? Oh, well, someone can let me know. I'll
Yes.
try not to swear.
Go ahead.
Oh, baby, I'm a curse, so hopefully
Oh,
that's all right.
okay. Thank you. I always forget to ask. And it can just be like so fucking infuriating when, you know, people are just going about their lives like nothing's happening. And I think that in of itself can make you feel like maybe you're experiencing something wrong, right? Like that's the thing with being gaslit by an entire country. And so I just wanted to start there, because I think that we're going to talk a lot about how, the propaganda and all these things are intentional, right, to weaken our resolves. But I think it starts with the fact that we are coexisting in spaces where people seem to be feeling that everything is fine and everything is normal. And, they're also posting those pictures of the gas price with this is why I voted, but those are also high now, so that doesn't make any sense anymore. Um, so what I wanted to talk a little bit about is kind of where in history have we seen this before, because we know we have. And also how do we then think critically about what's happening? So we know right now that billionaires and oligarchs and our government, or all three, and con men and white supremacists are using a bunch of tactics to keep us overwhelmed and inundated. And so right now, what we're looking at is, political and government sponsored manipulation and propaganda. I ironically was in social media right before I joined, and I saw someone write a comment about propaganda that it's not a political thing, it's only used in marketing, for corporations, which is very interesting. And a specific example of that is I don't know if y'all saw the Department of Labor ads, that were like pretty much the same as the Nazi propaganda, and like the same tone and colors, and it's only showing one face of white men. And that does not exclude then white women as being part of the problem, because even if they're not shown, they do get proximity privilege. And so I think right now when we look at that propaganda, it's really fueling the male feelings of like white male mediocrity and using it to their advantage. We're also seeing, social media tactics with like very in your face, like Trump's, Pope and president of the world memes. But also people laugh at them, right? Which is in essence normalizing the harm that he's creating. And so, we began as a nation, we didn't begin as a nation. The colonizers began their new whatever, um, and founding on white supremacy and pillaging and rape and murder and violence. So it's not that far from the origin stories that they've created for themselves to go back to this way. We're also seeing, targeted attacks and censorship and suppression, and naming the like 200 Palestinian journalists who were killed by Israeli airstrikes, the obvious and intentional and in our face obfuscation and lies around the Epstein files, and the way they've tried to distract us for them. The searches for Epstein went down by 95% when we started bombing Iran. We also then shifted our focus from places like Cuba and Palestine and Lebanon and Congo. And even for the fact that like it was only 2 months ago that he kidnapped a Venezuelan leader. Um, so in addition to that, we have the erasure of knowledge. So, um, dismantling governmental and other organizations and systems who are actually providing evidence-based and factual information, removing websites and resources, basically like ruining the education system. And then also like doxing individual truth tellers, inciting violence against them. And we've actually just normalized political violence, where the assassination of Melissa Hortman, I feel like, stayed on the front page for about 20 minutes. And so all of these tactics are used to overwhelm us. And I just wanted to leave y'all with some definitions of some of the words that I was saying. You'll have these on the slides to take home, but I think part of being able to fight back and to come together is to be able to name the harm that's happening and why they're using that tactic. So talking about propaganda, misinformation, disinformation, as well as censorship, suppression of information, and targeted attacks. And so, to tie this into the class, right? So all of this is by design, right? So weaponized mass disinformation has always been used to weaken our resolve. Distracting us, right? Having all these headlines pop up makes us miss often the really important things and also increases our states of overwhelm, anxiety, and isolation. And I think that you know, one of the things is right now, in some ways, we're like overly connected because we're all on social media, but also we can feel really alone in our feelings and our thoughts. And so by kind of jumping us from horror to horror to horror, while sneakily passing bills and doing all that stuff, flurries of information, layoffs, benefits being removed, and we lose sight of the bigger picture. And right now, they are literally killing us, eradicating our rights, and eradicating the right to exist for many, many communities. By keeping the pressure on us to overwhelm us, isolate, disconnect us, they want to keep us down and scared and busy. They have us struggling to access basic human necessities like food, water, and healthcare because they want you to feel exhausted and weak. They want you to think there's no other options. And knowing this, the way to fight back is to find solutions and resources to care for ourselves and each other. They don't want us to realize the power we have when we come together as a collective, when we ensure people are cared for and nurtured by their comrades. When it becomes too much, it is no longer a singular burden to bear alone. We push back against these systems who are intentionally trying to keep us apart. We win by taking care of each other. We win by taking care of ourselves, and we win by working together. Liberation has always been and always will be rooted in collective care. Um, that's my baby rant. But I will pass it to Afeni to lead us into the conversation about what we can do with. Oh, wait, I forgot a slide. Sorry, guys. See, told you this would happen.
Yeah, back up one. Just back up one.
One? No way,
Yeah,
I did this one.
I'm gonna say no. I'll just read. Don't worry about it. Okay.
uh,
No.
yeah, there you are.
There it is. There it is. There it is. There it is. Okay. So, okay. How do you know when your body has had enough, right? So, the definition of burnout is a state of severe physical, emotional, and a mental exhaustion that is caused by prolonged, unmanaged stress, typically related to work, but I added on and or the state of the world. Everything that Phoenix just said about how they are intentionally trying to basically drain the light from our eyes is on purpose. If you are burned out, your capacity for imagination, your capacity for hopefulness, your capacity for being a community and showing up and doing the inconvenient things that are required to be in deep and right relationship feel impossible when you are burned out. And so they continuously keep us burned out through all these different systems um, that Phoenix named. So some signs of burnout are chronic fatigue, headaches, insomnia, trouble concentrating, sense of failure or self-doubt, a feeling of helplessness, feeling trapped, defeated, um, being detached, feeling like you are alone in the world, a loss of motivation, and an increasingly cynical and negative outlook. I just want to sit right here for a second. There are a lot of folks that are on the left right now that genuinely believe that what is happening right now cannot get better, that things are only going to get worse. Being real about the situation, being honest, having the uncomfortable conversations about where we currently are and how they are subjugating and dehumanizing not only folks that are outside of our borders, but marginalized people within our borders, working class people within our borders. Um, People get like this nihilistic, doomerist point of view. Nihilism is not revolutionary because it keeps you in the same space. It keeps you in the same place. And so if you are feeling really nihilistic, if you are feeling really negative, if you are feeling like you like the work that you're doing actually doesn't mean anything or it's not actually doing anything, um check in with yourself and see if you're burned out. Because a lot of the time that's what we're doing. And that's where that's coming from. And finally, another sign, the last sign of burnout is decreased satisfaction and sense of accomplishment. we must count our wins. We must count our wins, even if they're small, even if they're big, even if they are somewhat on like the liberal spectrum of the board. We need to count our wins, and not only that, we need to use our wins as fuel and motivation to keep going forward. So, how do we manage burnout? We manage burnout. Some of this stuff feels like, girl, what the hell? There is a long, long, long indigenous lineage of a lot of the things that I'm listing here working and working well. Our ancestors healed in like collectively. They healed in community. They dealt with conflict in community. We didn't, it was there, this like individualistic self-care thing, that is capitalism. Capitalism is telling you that you need to go to the spa in order to feel better. That's not real life. Okay. So how can we manage burnout? Collective breathing exercises. Find a comrade and do some box breaths. Box breaths are when you count in, face masks will not save us, period. Box breaths are when you breathe in for 4 seconds, or 5, or 6, or 7, or 8, depending on what your ability is. You hold for the same amount of time that you breathed in for, and you breathe out for the same amount of time that you were holding. So and then you hold one more time, and it's called a box breath because it's like you're coming in, you're holding, you're breathing out, you're holding. Um, so we have those. Um, and those just bring a lot of sense of presence. If you are somebody who likes physical touch or is like down with physical touch, a hand on a shoulder, a hand on your shoulder, holding hands with somebody. Also like hugs are very regulating. Um, a big part of like the somatic healing and the somatic practitionership that I do is about being in coordination with others. And there is so much safety in being in deep coordination with somebody else. Journaling and like identifying your physical sensations, right? So wherever you're feeling the burnout physically, sorry, people are sending me messages. Um, I'm gonna finish this and then I have to pass it back to you because my participants need help getting out of this building. Um, but journaling regularly and taking time to write out what you feel and where you feel it in your body. There's a physical sensation that is associated with every single emotion. Where that physical sensation is differs for different people. I think that something that I'm learning in somatic work is because everybody's bodies are so different, and also because like people have different abilities to feel different things based on like there are like different factors to that. So where the physical sensation is kind of depends on you, but it's a really good time for you to check in with yourself and like do a full body scan. Like where are you feeling tight? Where are you feeling exhaustion? Where like are you holding a lot of tension? Is there a part of your body that is shaking uncontrollably? What part is that and why? Like what do you associate that with? Eat as regularly as you're able. Child, look now. They trying to fuck with the fertilizer. They trying to fuck with the gas. They done bought up all the damn farmland in the middle of America. So eat as regularly as you can. We can talk about food sovereignty another time, but wow, is it the time to get food sovereign, to learn how to grow your own food, how to keep your own livestock? This is the time. Okay. Make sure that you're hydrating. Um, Water helps move things through the body, even feelings and energy. So I know it feels like, girl, that's so woo-woo. I promise you it works. I swear, I swear. Move your body, even in small ways. Activity heals. Go out into nature also. The earth reminds us of what is beautiful, and how creation and manifestation can give us like an example of like an ecosystem that is all working together. Like everything that is in nature is ecosystem that is made up of a bunch of little small parts, from the smallest little bug to the largest tree. All of those things are working together to create the beauty that we see outside. And so we can learn so much from nature about how to be in coordination, how to act collectively, how to ground collectively. So being able to go out and like touch grass, touch a tree, take your shoes off, take your socks off, maybe put your back up against a tree. Um, these things, as as spiritually woo-woo as they sound, they genuinely do work, and there's so much inspiration there. So yes. Um, Community reflections. That's me and you. I'm gonna go. Let me just go peek out this door. I'm gonna be.
Okay. I actually have a section before community reflections. Hi everyone. If you didn't do it while Afeni said hydrate, maybe take a sip of water. Um, this is my water bottle that's bigger than my head. Uh, so, and just kind of seconding what Afeni's saying, like I have a service dog through a nonprofit, and my service dog makes me go outside. And I used to just spend time scrolling and isolating, and so now at least I go and touch grass, and it does make an immense difference. So I don't know how many folks are familiar with the concept of resource mapping. But kind of, following up with what I was talking about, disinformation, misinformation, hiding resources, doing resource mapping for ourselves as well as for our communities is really critical when kind of like other systems of information, are no longer accessible. And by designing these for yourselves and your communities, you're just kind of, you're resource sharing in a place where everybody else is resource guarding. So, to start with, the definition of resource mapping is a way to identify services, programs, people, other resources and guides that can help educate, support, and drive action and engagement for individual and communities. And I would add on to this that it also provides support for yourself. So, like all of the tools that Afeni just talked about are critical parts of your resource mapping toolkit. Um, so like I said, like what are the things that we can map, right? And I want to pause here because a lot of resource mapping are very physical. So it's like organizations and institutions, you can go to public spaces. But I very strongly believe in accessibility, and I'm a disability justice advocate. And I also want to name that it is really important to have accessible and online spaces as well. Whether if it's in going to be in person, making sure people are masking, if it's going to be online, providing kind of a space for folks to come together who might not be able to make it in other ways. Uh, and the no, Padlet comes next. Um, um, and resources, references, and toolkits. And I really like to be really intentional that, again, the resources and references aren't always places where you have to go to see someone. Especially those of us who have received like medical harm or institutional harm, making sure there's things that we can just go to as ourselves and look at on our own. One of the critical things to remember about resource mapping that's different than, like Rolodex of 311, 211, yada yada, is that we prioritize culturally responsive and locally led efforts. We like learn from the leaders in our communities. We don't try to create new things when they're not necessary. I know that a lot of times we often see like white folks like establishing a new nonprofit or establishing a new care, but like that already existed within other community spaces. We believe in mutual aid. I currently have a mutual aid where I class out, and one of the things I was talking about with someone in my community is how essentially those of us who have needed mutual aid and also post about mutual aid are often recircling the same dollars. And just kind of how it's kind of incredible that those who kind of lean into these systems of care, kind of how we see if one person's down, we're helping them, and then how that ebbs and flows throughout the months and the days even. And also the redistribution of power. So, a map isn't going to be just like one person telling you that these are the five things that you should do. That's not what it's about. It's about choice. And also a big thing about choice and consent that is like my second most, no, that is like my first most important thing in the world. So, giving you options, right, to choose from, and just knowing that there are spaces and guides that you can take advantage of. So what I did for this class is I actually changed the community mapping and resource mapping a little bit. So there's a link down here and we'll send it after, but I've actually started building one of my pages, a resource for collective care by starting at the individual level. So for support systems, for example, so I'm basically just like listing websites where you can find action items, but like there's a lot of amazing peer support groups. And while I did include the national hotlines, I also know because I've worked on them, like they're mandated reporters. They will intervene with police. That is not appropriate for so many of us. Like, do not call the cops on me if you think that I'm, not well. And so really focusing on peer to peer and also tailored and targeted specific to who you are and how you identify, right? Because not all spaces are for us. In terms of self-care, it would be all of the things that Afeni just talked about. I actually linked to box breathing and other types of breathing, ways to ground and things like that. So really having a toolkit for you. And then in community care, it's including things like where are your local food banks? Where are the warming and cooling centers? Um, do you know what the mutual aid is and, the like grassroots organizing within your communities. So I provided some like national food bank and things like that, and then action. So that could look like, calling your state legislators. I mean, I know politics are crap, but still sometimes that is the action we're needing to take. And then, kind of like amazing sources that I found, like the Queer Liberation Library. I don't know if people have heard of it, but it's really to help queer folks who might be in towns or areas that are extremely, transphobic, anti everything, for them to find, books and that affirm their experiences. Um, and so that's something that, I kind of wanted to gift to everyone and something I will do my best to keep updated with ongoing stuff because I just think we all need these, kind of like these vetted resources to have to carry with us. So one of the other like I don't want to say homework, but one of the other things that we're giving you as part of this toolkit is a blank resource map for you to fill out in your community, for you to take with you for yourself, like whatever is best used for this. And so these I'm just gonna leave up are some of the like reflection questions on kind of like who is in your space, and again, like, are things accessible? How does this look different for something that you set up for yourself versus your community? Where are the intersections? So just some things to kind of carry with you when you think about creating yours. Now the Padlet. So I think that someone's gonna drop
Can I,
in the
can we switch so I can show the current? Because there's a bunch of answers on there already.
yeah. I can. Do you want me to pull it up?
I already have it.
Okay.
Okay. So, oh, okay, now it's not working. Wait. I talked all that shit. Okay. All right. I had to make it like fill the thing. Can y'all see that? Is it getting bigger?
N- no.
Hold on, entire screen. Did that work? I hope that worked. Can you see it? Like moving?
Yes.
Okay, great, great, great. Okay, so we asked folks to take some time before they got up in here to answer some questions for us, just so we can gauge like the experience, and also like the understanding in the room. And also, I just want to maybe y'all got some new stuff that we ain't got. We wanted to know that too. So, um, really, really appreciate that. So we really wanted to understand how people are currently caring for themselves. So if I say your name wrong, I apologize in advance. But Astral Pathfinder said being outside, seeing screens, spending time with loved ones. We love that. Put the screen down. Internet is not real life. As a content creator, I can take look at me, look at me. The internet is not real life. Okay. There's a whole big world out there. It's a little fucked up, but there's a whole big world out there, and we can find other things to do other than doom scroll. Okay. Martin from Steel City says, I'm recovering from a hip replacement surgery, and I am organizing alternative to violence project workshops by phone. When we talk about accessibility, that's what we mean. Okay, there's a role for everybody in the movement. Okay, thank you so much, Martin. Luis, I'm gonna go Lewis. Keeping busy with work that I love, writing a book, period. Creative, write that book. Um, Writing a book, working in health and ecology projects. Love that. Taking in lots of sunshine, reading, Brisa from Birmingham, Marco, trying to affirm community and connection, playing nostalgic video games, Elle from Phoenix. Karen says taking walks, reading for leisure, also regulating my consumption of news and social media. Wow, Karen, I need to do the same. I literally only watch the news like 24/7. I'm pretty sure Phoenix has heard it playing in the background during our Zoom meetings. Like it's a problem. It's a thing. Daily movement, not going to work sick, eating when I'm hungry. But if you have sick leave, even if you don't have sick leave, call out that job. Fuck that job. Okay. Creating as much art as I can, period. Working on costumes. I started exercising again. We're not exercising for vanity, we are exercising for survival. So if you are able, we need to be able to help our disabled loved ones. Okay. So you got to lift yourself and others. Get to it. What else? Reading more, writing letters with friends, pet therapy, my cat. Mm, my cat's a terrorist, so she doesn't actually. Wow, she's beating me up. But anyway, okay. So what are some ways that you need to be cared for? Astral says hugs. Me too, friend. Martin from Still City says taking time to receive attention from my good companions. You talking about animals? You talking about friends? Either way, get some attention from your good companions, pal. Music, birds, the presence of kindred spirits. Love that. Louis from Brooklyn. Brisa from Birmingham. Socialization. Unplug them phones, y'all. Let them phones die and talk to your friends. There's nothing that's more healing than a night of yap. Mindless yap. We love that. Um, Disability justice, period, Marco. +1 to disability justice. I love more socializing with like-minded people. M says being listened to, people wearing masks. J9 says listening to others, talking to randos. I also talk to random people, my friends, and being listened to. Sugar says I need music and to be able to rant and to decompress. Yes, we love Yap. I told you, Yap is great. Um, Serb says low barrier, low cost socialization events. It should be free. Um, Need to know people. Oh, I need to know people think about me even when I don't think about them. And family to act like family since my mom died a long time ago. Wayne, I'm really sorry about that, friend. Carol, in real life interactions and good laughs with good people. Um, do you want to take the next one? Because I feel my bad. I just be talking.
You can keep going if you want. I'm
Okay,
just
cool.
I'm just chatting in the chat. So
Okay, cool. All right. So, how has this current society and its escalations been impacting you? This probably should have been the first question because we talked about all that positive shit. Now we're going back to that, but y'all know what's going on. So people are saying that they have little nightmares and breakdowns. That is very normal. I have had nightmares about ice raiding my apartment building recently, and I just can't like it's like a reoccurring one at this point. Um, Martin from Still City says, I'm finding myself looking inwards to see the ways that I'm in collusion with the madness, period. Especially if you white. I don't know if you white, Martin, so I'm not calling you white. But if you are white and you're not looking inward to figure out how you're in lockstep with white supremacy, you're probably still in lockstep with white supremacy. Amen. Amen. Um, Louis, I don't know. From Brooklyn says keeping an eye out for the good that inevitably come of the crisis. Y'all, as a radical optimist, a hopeful radical, it's coming, y'all. It's coming, I swear. Brisa from Brooklyn, I've been grieving a lot. I'm feeling very emotionally unstable. My current state is also impacting my OCD symptoms. As somebody that is has ADHD, a little touch of the tism as well. I definitely understand that. Me and my friends were just talking about how what's happening in the current landscape is like really impacting like the symptoms of our neurodivergence and like in some ways making it worse, you know? And also just to touching on the grief thing. Grief makes space for unbridled joy. Like grief is a part of life. We're always constantly grieving things. But the most beautiful part about it is when we find the ability to find joy again, that joy is usually just it's so transformational, it's so new because you went through all those things and you were still able to find that place. So, grief is necessary. Um, In my 32nd year living in MS, as a person who wholeheartedly and holistically believes in mind, body, spirit connection, the last 6 years since the advent of the coronavirus has consistently exacerbated this disabling illness. I try to locate hope in the awareness that we have to destroy the old world to build a new one. Period. Experiencing lots of overwhelm. Elle from Phoenix says, um, turning to now nostalgia to cope. It has its pros and cons. Feeling isolated and disconnected from loved ones, feeling gaslit and thinking that I'm overreacting or doing too much. I was just with my mom, and we were in one of those colonizing ass countries, not this one, another one. And I said, yeah, like they had like a whole bunch of flags of countries they colonized. And I said, wow, they have a whole bunch of flags of countries they colonized. And sister was like, why are you being so negative? And I was like, is it negative or is it just the reality? Hate that. Um, Karen says it's hard not to feel demoralized and succumb to what Lara Sheehy calls psychic despair. I have actively searched out for alternative narratives. And then Sugar. Do you know how wild it is to have to teach the background and foundations of the USA while the current government is dismantling? I'm so tired. Please, no, for real. Okay, let's move on. What is your current understanding of practices? Are you engaged in anything now? If so, what? Astral says collective action for communal well-being. IRL regenerative agriculture program with others who care for each other and the planet. Love that. And community with people and the land, y'all. We don't own the land, we are of the land. So we are in community with the land. Period. Um, I'm in a good companion group connected to Alternatives of Violence Project, Friends of the Peace Teams, working coalition of volunteer medical professionals, a plastic reduction committee at my food co-op, collective helping homeless musicians. That's really good. I have been taking community classes like dance, crafting, podcasting. Love that. Also doing mutual aid work, communal practices have me looking like family coming together to celebrate more and together, mutual aid, sharing resources like mass blocks, cultural events, taking public health precautions like masking, cleaning shared air. I'm involved in grassroots organizing, sending books to people behind bars. I attend protests. I love that. Getting back into organizing. I know communal practices can be organizing, but I usually don't know where to look, so I try to donate money where I can. And I've been trying to make a push to go out at least three things in the city in the month. I just need a break from the kids. Being a single parent of five is hard. Girl, let me know where you at. I babysit children. I love them. But yeah, thank you so much, all of y'all, for your responses. Phoenix, do you have anything that you want to add?
No, just keep updating it. This is something that will exist and live outside of this. So I think, again, talking about resource sharing, sharing how you're caring for yourselves or how people feel like they need to be cared for is kind of all part of this collective care. And thanks for people that are being active in the chat. It's just great to see how people are showing up. It's really inspiring. All right.
Okay, so I think we're doing this.
Next up is you.
Huh? Yeah. Okay, so I like to center standing up. So for the folks who have never done somatics before, you can do somatics, you can center sitting or standing. The purpose of centering is to feel more, not less, and it's also a grounding practice as well. So whatever ends up coming up for you, um, let it come up, let it flow. Um, and yeah, I'm going to try. It says 10 minutes, but because I want to leave space for some questions, I'm going to try to not take 10 minutes. All right. So whatever you need to do to be present in the moment, um, whether that's like a quick stretch, or big deep breaths. We deserve breath because we deserve life. This life experience, our energy, our imagination is ours. And the first step to all of that is our breath. So, coming into presence, I like to stretch up and down, focusing on my breath as I go along. The purpose of centering also is to pay attention to the physical sensations that are within your body. Um, So whatever you're feeling, wherever a part of you that needs a little more tenderness, that needs a little more care, if you feel able, you feel like you want to, go ahead and apply some pressure for yourself in those areas. Um, so we center in three dimensions. The first dimension that we center in is our length. This is our dignity. In a world that continuously tries to collapse our dignity, that continuously tries to dehumanize us, tries to tell us that we're not enough, that we're nothing but numbers, that it is worth more to have oil and land than it is for us to have decent lives. It is important for us to reclaim our own dignity. So vertebrae by vertebrae, if you are able, lengthen your spine as much as you can. Um, I am Muslim, so I'm a little religious. But also, if you are like a spiritual person, universe, all that stuff, just imagine that there's a string going from the top of your head all the way up into the universe, just pulling you up. As you feel your shoulders going to your right place, you want to put your shoulders over your hips if you're able, your hips over your knees over your ankles. And you just want to come into your right height. You don't want your chest to be puffed out, but you also don't want your shoulders to be caved in. You are in your right height, your respect, and your dignity because it is yours and nobody can actually take it from you. So feeling into that, settling into that, we're going to center in our dimension of width. This is our dimension of longing, of belonging, of community. I first like to feel the expansion within myself. So whether that's my lungs expanding in my rib cage, or sometimes I can feel like this is gonna sound really weird, but I swear it's like it's a real feeling. Sometimes I feel like my womb expanding down into my pelvis, like when I'm doing like this like expansion exercise. So like whatever expansion inside of you feels like, just take account of that. Um, know what that feels like. Your lungs hitting the back of your rib cage. I put my arms out if you're able, putting the arms out. And now we're feeling for other folks that we're in community with, other people that we want to bring into the room with us, people that we're organizing for, our family members, our friends, people that we love. And when you're ready, you can put your arms down, but try to keep your energy that wide. And continue to expand out to the people that you want to be in this space with you that could not make it today. Expand it to your ancestors, the folks that have passed on, people that you love. Our friend who lost their mom. See if you can feel her in this moment as you continue to expand your energy out into your community and your dimension of belonging. Settling into our breath while we maintain our length, keeping our energy nice and wide, keeping our community in our energy circles, in our bodies, in our space. We're going to now focus on our dimension of depth. This is the past, this is the present, and this is the future where you're headed towards. So first, I like to go into my back. So if you squeeze your shoulder blades together, if you're able, you can like feel like a little charge in your back muscles. And at your back is your history, it's your trauma, it's every single moment that propelled you to this one, every single accomplishment, every single community member that you've met, every one-to-one that you've had, all of that experience is at your back. And it brings you to this present moment. So when you're ready, we're going to center in the present. So I physically shift my body, like I will be leaning back, I physically shift my body and like get back into my right height, my right balance, making sure that my heels are even with the balls of my feet. If you're seated, you can do the same thing, making sure that your heels and the balls of your feet are firmly planted on the ground. And if you feel inclined, you can put your left hand over your belly button and then put your left palm over the bottom of your stomach, your right hand on your back in alignment with your left hand. And this place right here under your left palm is your center. Your center is a 360 band. At this time, it is most important for us, all of us, to be tapped in with our center, with our discernment, with the place in us that knows. There are things that can be learned through books. There are things that can be learned from other people. There are some things that can only be felt through the part in you that knows, through your instincts. And what is happening right now, we are going to have to create a lot of things on the fly. Our instincts are going to be important in this moment. So tapping in with your discernment, trusting who you are and what you know is so important. So if you feel the warmth of your palm, whenever you're ready, you can drop your hands, but try to still feel and pay attention to your center. Every day, I would tap in with my center at least once. So that way, whenever you're unsure of yourself, whenever you feel like you don't know what to do or where to go, take a couple of deep breaths and tap in with the place in you that knows. Because that place is connected to, we're connected to each other through that place, and we're connected to everything that has created us, the land, God, or the universe, whatever you believe. That place in your nose is deeply connected to that part of yourself. So from there, moving from our center to the place that we're going. So doing a front body scan, like, can you feel the tip of your nose and your heartbeat at the same time? Can you feel your pants on the front of your legs? Maybe you have some socks on. Can you feel your socks on the front of your ankles? But every experience that we have on our back, that present feeling of the place And us that knows is pointing us to where we're going. So this centering practice is something that you can do on a daily basis. I suggest it once a week, once a month. Um, Somatics is deeply transformative. I know, like, depending on your ability and things like that, there are different modifications. So if you have any questions about it and you want to like tap in about it offline, I'll make sure to drop my email in the chat, and folks can reach out to me. I'm also going to be doing like some somatic training and things like that for folks virtually and in person. So we can tap in on that. And the last thing we're going to center in is a commitment. A commitment statement is a declaration over your life, over what you want to do. It's a manifestation. My current commitment statement is I am commitment to authentic leadership that is aligned with my values and led by Allah, and being the steward of my own agency and humanity. So you might not come with a commitment statement right now, and that's okay. But think deeply about what you are committed to, and why you're committed to it, and what you want your commitment statement to call you to do. I am really bad actually at telling people no and holding my own agency. So the reason why my commitment is that I want to be the steward of my agency and humanities, because that's something that I want to manifest for myself. So be sure that when you create a commitment state for yourself, that you do the same thing. Um, and we're going to take one more big collective deep breath in, thinking about what we're committed to. Gonna hold if you're able. We're gonna let that out. Um, but yes. Period. Trauma-informed yoga.
Yeah, I took an entire course where social justice and mutual aid were kind of part of the process, and really just stepping away from the whiteness that has like co-opted yoga and made it something that it's not, um, at all. I'm gonna swap with you and share my screen. Hold on.
Okay, I'm gonna stop.
Okay. Thank you for that practice. It's always needed, even if it's like take 3 deep breaths. Sometimes we just gotta remember to breathe, which I have trouble with. Okay. So I think before we close, and if anybody has any comments or questions, I'll just leave this slide up for a minute. Uh, I shared both of our social handles, like kind of across the board. Afeni, sorry, I did not put your email address in. I'll add it before we publish the
I'll put it in
slides.
the chat. Don't worry about it.
Okay. But basically, like, I'm someone who is constantly seeking community. I think as someone who was, um, unfortunately raised by white people who were abusive and problematic and yada yada yada. And also as someone who's disabled, so I'm always looking for community. I'm always, here to be a peer support or a coach or guide. And like I said, gentle movement, everything for me is about accessibility and choice. So that's kind of what you'll get with me. But I'd love to connect outside of this. So please say hi. That would make me very happy on social or email. And pass it back over to you.
To me or to Philomena? Oh, friend.
Sorry, then I was just reading the chat.
I'm sorry, I was reading the chat too. I was all up in that chat. Okay. Yeah, for those who are like in doing somatic therapy, just chill. I'm in a intense somatic practitioner like track right now. And just know, y'all. Somatics gets deep. Okay, somatics gets deep. Love, love, love somatics. Thank y'all so much for like being here, for being so active. Folks was chatting in the chat. I love that. So thank y'all so much for that. Thank you for participating in the somatic practice with me. Um, and yeah, for all the work that y'all are doing and with your own communities. Uh, we're really, really grateful for that. And if anybody has any questions, please ask us.
I really appreciate everybody showing up. It's midweek. I know there's a lot going on, so really glad to have you all here.
Want to echo that so much and just want to like take a moment to thank you both for such a special class for like you were just saying, like to just provide something like this in the middle of the week, in the middle of this year, in the middle of this decade, in this century, in this millennia that we are facing right now. Like it's just thank you both so much. Like we appreciate you. And to each and every one of you that joined us tonight, thank you from all of the places that you joined us from. We really appreciate y'all. And please stay tuned. There's gonna be some follow-up stuff from us because this does not end here. We're gonna have worksheets for you. We're gonna have a recording. So if you missed any of this, if you want to catch it and experience it again, it's all gonna be available. We will send emails and everything. And please take care of yourselves until next month. Please join us April 29th. We are going to be having a class on new media studies with journalist Afif Nasuli. So it's going to be really cool. Yeah, no, it's going to be good. Y'all don't miss it. But thank you again, everybody. And be well, and we'll talk to you soon.